Expert. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. I'm in London today, so apologies for the slight echo. Haven't got my big microphone with me. And I've got Nicky Davies as our expert today. Hello, Nicky. Where are you in the world?
Hi, Angela. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. So I am in Doha, in Qatar, in yet another hotel room. So I've also got some crappy lighting, and hopefully I've got great internet because I am actually in a hotel room.
I think we're doing well, actually. We're doing good. Actually, we're probably doing better than some of the crowdcasts over the last couple of weeks. Technology has not been our friend. So we are keeping our fingers crossed and we are good to go. So this is our monthly insight from an expert on a particular topic. So you get half hour, 45 minutes of free training, as it were, that you could then utilize, you could share with your teams, you can go away. This is our 28th session, I believe. So we've been doing it every month for a couple of years, so there's a lot of resource there for you if you are looking to utilize that. So Nicky, title today then, love this, Recruiting the Future Leadership Through Authenticity and Empathy. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got to that topic.
Sure. So I'm Nicky. I own a company called WAVA Global, and I've been in business for 19 years now. And it's been about developing leaders in organizations around the world. And one of the things that I recognized when I was thinking about the request that you made or the invitation to be here with you, Angela, was about what do recruitment companies and WAVA Global have in common? And what we have in common is really the fact that we are both serving large organizations. You know, I'm coming at it from a leadership development perspective, and you're coming at it from a recruitment line. But the issues that we're dealing with within our own companies and within the larger organizations are very much the same. And what I recognize is that you guys are helping recruit the future, and I am helping organizations prepare for now and looking into the future as well. And a lot of organizations where they struggle is with recruiting talented people into the organization and then retaining that talent. But as a recruitment company, you're facing the same issue too. You know, you're facing the same issue in terms of recruiting really talented individuals into your organizations and retaining that talent too. So there's lots of commonalities that we have, and we're dealing with similar issues, to be honest.
Well, we've got our daily workout all of this week. The end of the year, we get industry people from the industry bodies to come in and talk about what were their predictions for this year and how well did they work out, but also looking for next year and certainly this year, and they believe into 2024 as well, that one, hiring the quality talent has still been an issue, but also it's the retaining of key people within the business. And most companies have had to actually actively focus on that this year.
Yeah, it's a really tough one because I recognize that hiring talented individuals, we're operating from a very small pool. And although people are talking about moving because they're not necessarily happy in the organization that they're in, they're not actually moving right now. They're kind of waiting and seeing what's happening. And particularly at this time of the year, because this time of the year for a lot of places around the world, not necessarily here in the Middle East,
Yeah.
but there's this thing called Christmas coming up and New Year's celebrations. And so at this time of the year, people are tired. You know, that's what I'm sensing, is that people are really tired in organizations. And here in the Middle East, it's relatively warm. It still feels quite chilly here because it's kind of like 21 degrees.
I was in India until Monday. We've spent the last 10 days in India and it's 29 degrees there. And we were like, this is better than our summer. Kate and I had a wonderful time. They're like, they're all in puffer jackets. They're all in coats because they're like, this is our winter, it's cold.
Yeah, Well, I came to the Middle East from Florida, and it was a similar picture in Florida. It actually felt I've got used to warm weather, that's the problem. But for those of you that are in the Northern Hemisphere, it's cold. It's cold, there's this thing called Christmas and New Year, and I sense that people are just really tired right now, and then looking for a break. And it's with that in mind that I really want to talk to recruiting the future, and thinking about leadership and thinking about authenticity and empathy. Because we all know that when you're tired, this is when it's really difficult to bring out the best of yourself when you're managing and you're leading people, and to get the best out of your people as well. Everybody's tired. But it's really important to be able to inspire people. We talk about motivating people, but really what we want to do is we want people to have that real sense of inspiration coming from within. Because if you have to motivate people, you've got a problem.
So this is sort of extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, isn't it? So rather than carrot and stick type of extrinsic, doing things to or for people, this is giving them the inspiration. Actually, they want to do it for themselves. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah. And the best way to really understand what inspires somebody is to truly understand what's important for them. And it's something called their high priority values. We all have high priority values. And they are things that we are just naturally inspired by. And so understanding somebody's high priority values is key to understanding what they're inspired by. And then you can link what their high priority values are to the vision, the mission of the organization, and any goal or objective that the team is working towards. So I guess it would be useful. Can I spend a bit of time talking about high priority values and how?
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is something that I always try and get a company to start with. If they're looking to do anything new, it's like, well, what are the values? And this is like personal values for individuals, isn't it? It's not the company values, it's the personal ones. Is that right?
Well, the funny thing is, a company doesn't have values. It's the people in the organization that have values. So when you're looking at creating values for the organization itself or for the company, it's really looking at what's important to the individuals that are within that organization and looking for common themes. So you might be thinking, listening to this, that I'm talking about values in terms of honesty, in terms of trust and integrity and those sorts of things. But actually, I want to back up a bit, because what I'm talking about are things that are truly important to the individual. And there are some key questions that you can ask, or you can look at somebody's behavior to really understand what's important to them. So let's start with some questions. And those of you that are listening to this, you might want to get a piece of paper and jot down some thoughts to really understand what your high priority values are. So these are the things, like you said earlier, Angela, that are about intrinsic motivation. It comes from within. The more that we tap into that intrinsic motivation, that inspiration, if you like, the easier it is to, you don't have to chase people anymore to get them to do things. They're just naturally inspired to do that particular task because it helps them, it fits with their high priority values. So let's dive in. So let me ask you some questions. Play along.
Let's see where this goes.
So the first question is really thinking about what's in your personal space? What's in your personal space right now? So if I look around my personal space right now, probably like you, I have a phone. My phone, is in my personal space. So what you want to think about is, is what does that represent to you? Some people have lots of pictures of their kids, their family, things that, activities that they've done that they really enjoy. Some people might have trading platforms on it, you know, that they trade stocks and shares, or maybe the currencies. You know, you want to go beyond. Oh well, I have my phone in my personal space, and your personal space is sort of about 4 foot. I'm not sure how. Maybe 1.5 meters. Would that be about 1.5 meters for those of you that are metric? So have a look around your personal space and think about, you know, what does your phone represent to you? What are the things that you have on your phone that are really important to you? You know, so I've got my phone, I've got my laptop, which I'm talking into now. Well, what does that represent to me? Well, that represents my whole world, actually, which is really around my business. I don't know about you. And my business is really important to me. And you can even go as far as breaking it down and thinking about, okay, so what aspect of your business is really important to you? So an aspect of my business that's really important is that I'm actually growing more leaders around the world. That naturally is a high priority value for me. That inspires me, you know, being able to help develop more leaders around the world. So you want to think about what's in your personal space. What are the 3 things that are in your personal space, and what do they represent to you? And that will be what's really important to you. Ready for the next question?
Yeah, I just want to share, actually, because when you said what does it represent to me, I don't know if you can see that, but well, my daughter behind everything. So there we go. She's 25 now. Her dog's there as well. But for me, it represented connectedness. Doesn't matter where I am in the world, and I love time on my own, but actually this connects me. And if you may be able to see, organisation. So everything's got a box, and there's probably 9 apps in every box. From there. Because yes, my mind gets organised, my space not so much. So now I'm thinking there's an incongruence here, because my space isn't that organised, and it does frustrate me. So therefore, my values, I think, are not working in my 4 foot. So I need to get organised. That's going to be a big Christmas thing, a big clear out for me, and get organised again.
Yeah, and it's really important to know those things, you know, because if we work together on a project, Angela, if I know that being connected is really important to you, if I know that being organized is really important to you, then that's something that I would want to incorporate into how we communicate with each other, and how I might think about the goals that we have, and where your strengths lie, your natural, inspired, inner motivated actions come from. That's something that I would want to take on board and talk to you and communicate in that way. And you would naturally get excited about that, because it fits with your high priority values. And therefore, there's no need for the carrot and the stick. You're naturally inspired to take that action because it fits with who you are, who you naturally are, which is that authentic piece within leadership, and that empathy as well, really understanding your people. So that's personal space. So each of these questions, what you want to do is think about, what's your top 3? What's your top 3? And what you're looking for are themes. You'll find that, you know, you're repeating answers, and the more that you're repeating answers, the more accurate that's going to be a high priority value for you. And this is a great exercise to do with your teams as well, to really understand people's high priority values. So the next question is thinking about, how do you spend your time? How do you spend your time? Now, for most of us, that involves work. But you want to be thinking about, okay, if I spend most of my time at work, what are the things that light me up? What are the activities that really inspire me, that I can't wait to do? You know, it might be about connecting for you, Angela. It might be something to do with organizing. It might not. It might be something completely different. But think about 3 things, the top 3 answers to that question about how you like to spend your time. And for those of you that it's not about work, it's about something else, That's really important to know as well. You know, it might be going to the gym and seeing yourself get results in the gym. It might be around health and well-being. You know, so what would your top three answers be to the question of how do you spend your time
Well,
most?
it's definitely not the gym. I've just spent 11 days with Kate O'Neill, who is a real gym bunny, and certainly our time off all related around the gym, and she had everything coordinated. I was like, my goodness, yeah, that's definitely not me. But sunshine is one of the things. So being able to be in the sun and ideally laying in it as well and feeling that on my skin, I know that that is one of my favourite things ever to do and makes a big difference to me. So I am questioning whether all these people that have sort of moved to the south of France and the south of Italy and are working from there, and you're like, yeah, I can work anywhere. So that's already permeating. So travel comes into it as well, and therefore experiencing different cultures, different people, that's important to me. And then probably outside of work, it would be films. I have a real passion for films, and we had so many conversations where we just talk about films for hours and hours and hours and lots of different ones. And I came back and I watched Gandhi last night because I thought I'd seen it, but it came out when I was about 12. And I hadn't. I'd obviously seen so many clips. You know, when you think, oh yeah, I've seen that because you know the clips, but I hadn't. And amazing. So really appreciative of things like that as well. And I'm the type of person that will go into IMDb and read all the trivia notes, every single one, and I'll be looking out for all the information in the film. So information, knowledge, whether it's data, anything that relates to that I can. Every day is a learning day. Again, that comes back to who I am.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So for those of you that are playing along with this, just notice, you know, like Angela's really clarifying what aspect it is of the headline. You know, so really drill down and find out exactly what it is for you. You ready for the next one?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is all about what energizes you most. What energizes you most? And again, you know, you may find that you're writing very similar things. And if you are, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sunshine came to mind straight away. If it's cold and dark and everything, I wake up and I'm like straight away I'm like, Whereas in the summer, you wake up, you can see blue sky through your window. Straight away, I'm like, right, yeah, I'm on it. So huge difference, and yet it's just a simple thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and you want to make sure that you're answering these truthfully. So you don't want to be taking on board somebody else's idea of what's the right answer here. You want to look at your behavior, you know, look at the actions that you're actually taking. So if I think about what energizes me most, even when I'm tired, like you, Angela, I love learning, and there are certain things that I love learning about. So if it's related to understanding what makes people tick, you know, some kind of psychology of being a human being, then I'm on it, you know. And the other thing that I really love learning about, which will sound really sad because I love spreadsheets, is numbers. You know, you were mentioning about data. I love numbers. I love working with numbers in my business and also, you know, for my clients as well. So yeah, I can lose hours in a spreadsheet. I can lose hours learning something about what makes people tick. What are the things that you, as an audience, you know, you can just lose that sense of time. Another thing for me, which was true, and your values change over time, was true for me a number of years ago when I spent more time in the UK, was actually throwing pottery pots on a wheel. You know, so yeah,
Sorry.
a ball of clay, yeah, on a wheel. There's something magical. I lose myself in that, creating something out of a ball of clay on the pottery wheel. So, what is it for you? And just notice what it would have been in the past and what it would be today. And this is a useful exercise to do with your team, but also to do on a regular basis, sort of, once a quarter, maybe once every 6 months. Or if there's a major change in your life, if there's an illness in the family, what you'll find is your values will shift around. So it's useful to have a look at this again and just see whether they've shifted or not. And I've just noticed Sarah's asked, can you repeat question 2, please? Yeah. So Sarah, the second question was all about time. What do you spend your time on most? What do you spend your time on most? And you may say work, and you want to clarify, well, what is it? What is it within work that you love, that you find inspiring? What are the tasks within your job, or maybe within your business, that you love doing? Okay. So we've had what's in your personal space. What do you spend your time on most? All of these are most. So what's in your personal space most? What do you spend your time on most? What energizes you most? And you're looking for the top 3 answers. And the fourth one is, what is it that you're inspired by? What is it that you're inspired by? Okay, and that's a telling one as well. If I think about what inspires me, there are certain people, in fact, 2 of my business mentors that I'm really inspired by, and what they've achieved in life, how they actually communicate with people, the way that they are responsive to people. In fact, it's very much that authentic leadership and that empathy that they lead with. What is it for you? Who is it that inspires you? Who is it, or what is it that inspires you most? What are those 3 things that inspire you most? What would it be for you, Angela?
Yeah, because I do think of people first. Having done a lot of work with DISC with Kate in this conference, realizing that I'm on that people side of the fence, and therefore it's individuals that inspire me. But then it's about how can I get their knowledge out to others? Hence, meet the expert, as we're doing. We've got Ask the Coach, and I love a spreadsheet as well. And Charlotte will back me up on this. We spent a bit of time in her review yesterday checking out the numbers, because we've had 111 coaches, of which you are one for that session. 62% women from 14 different countries. Again,
Wow.
That type of knowledge, and knowing that I'm supporting others. That inspires me to really get others to appreciate them. Maybe that's what it's all about, because I've just seen Jo Major speak. I'm at the London Teen Conference, and she speaks with such passion about DE&I, and I just want as many people to see her as possible. So it's different ways to promote others, I think, is what gets me going. So 1, the people, and then how to get their word out to others.
Yeah. And if we know these things about people, members of our team, just imagine the difference in terms of how you communicate objectives, goals, things that you would really like them to get on board with. You'll be using this information, their high priority values, to talk about things in a very different way, because you'll naturally be aligning it with something that's important to them. And then what happens is they see it in their own mind, how it connects with something that they're naturally inspired by, their high priority values, and they naturally take action. And it doesn't matter if we're all tired at this time of the year, because those are things that you make time for. You find them energizing.
Exactly. As soon as you started talking about them, or rather asking me the questions, so I get to talk about them, I feel my energy going up and positivity coming out of me, because these are all things that I love. So what a lovely conversation to have. Like you say, yes, this time of year, but planning in every quarter, maybe before the end of each quarter, to then see, okay, what's changed, what's different, what do we need to move on, what worked last time that they got involved in. And I love using values to set projects for people. So let's start with the values. What's important now? How can we use that in the business? And what could you get involved with that actually is going to really excite you, rather than go, oh, I've got to do that.
Yeah. And there are additional questions that I tend to use when I'm working with an organization, particularly when I'm working with the leadership team. There are additional questions that I ask, but we're short on time here, so I'm not going to share those with you today. But if it's something that's of interest to you, listening to this, please feel free to reach out to me and we can have a conversation about that. But I'd just like to take a minute or two just to talk about how you can use this in your organization, within your business, to really understand what the organizational values are. Because like I said before, it's not the company that has values, it's the people in that organization that have the values. Okay, we're coming at it the wrong way when we start with the question, so what should our business values or company values or organizational values be? You're coming at it the wrong way, because an organization would not exist without people doing something in that organization. And so I work with businesses and organizations, and I help them get clarity around what exactly are these high priority values for the organization. And the way to do it is doing exactly what we're doing here. You take people through I take them through 13 questions to find out what are their 3 high priority values. The top 3, or maybe even 4, are the ones that we're looking for. And often people will have about 6 or 7, but it's the top 4 that you're going to be operating from most of the time. And we put them on a huge piece of paper so that we can have a look at them all. And then we look for the commonalities. And what we're looking for are the commonalities across the whole of the leadership team. We can do this lower down in the organization and connect that to the leadership team's high priority values too. And then you look at it in terms of the vision and the mission of the organization. And that's how you get to authentic high priority values for the collective, which makes up the organization. And then you can start to look at, okay, well, what are the individual goals, objectives, or maybe team objectives that we need to have going into the new year, or wherever we are in the business journey? And how do these high priority values link? How do they specifically link to the objectives that we have in mind? And what we're using here is the brain's natural conditioning to answer a question. If you ask a question, our brains naturally go to a place where we start answering it. So this is one of the reasons why coaching as a leadership approach works so well, as you well know, Angela, because then immediately you ask a question of somebody, they can't help themselves but start to think about how they would answer that.
Well, I think this is helping answer Alan's question that he's put in there. He apologises for being late. He was at the gym. That's his bit, his motivation. This is Mr. Recruiter Fit, by the way. But he's asking here, how can you help people who don't know what motivates or inspires them?
Well, that's why these questions, there's 13 of them, but we've done 4 here within the group. So Alan, the first question is, what's in your personal space? What 3 items are in your personal space most? And we were talking about the phone, and everybody's probably got a phone in their personal space, but you want to drill down to, what does it represent? What does it represent for you? And Angela gave a really lovely example. For her, it represents connectedness, connecting with people. The second question is thinking about, what do you spend your time on most? And you'll probably say, oh, work comes first. But think about, well, what is it within work that you would put in your top 3. So what do you spend your time on most? And then the third question is, what energizes you most? What do you always find energy for most? So, and the fourth question is, what inspires you? You know, who inspires you? What is it that inspires you about them? So by asking those questions, people will answer those questions because they're very straightforward questions. And from that, you can pick up what are the themes, what are the top ones that come out as an answer in each of those questions. And that's your answer.
That's the
Those
thing.
are their high priority values.
Yeah, they don't have to have an answer, do they? All those questions are things about them and that they would know. So having to think about what motivates me, what inspires me, and I've just edited the thing on there because I'd put what motivates and people might struggle, but yeah, what energizes you, you tend to know that answer, don't you? Because it's
Yeah.
black and white.
Yeah, and you really want to make sure that it's something that people are doing. It's not something they aspire to. So, you
Mm.
know, I don't go to the gym. So, so I might say, oh, well, you know, I guess what would energize me most is going to the gym. Well, my behavior doesn't demonstrate that. My life doesn't demonstrate that. So that's not an accurate answer. So you always want to make sure that people are answering according to their behaviors, according to what they do. You know, one of our clients, a lovely telecoms company, when I walk around the office, very often you can see, in terms of people's personal space, you can see what's important to them. They might have photos of their family on their desk. There's one guy in this telecoms company, and he is in a cubicle. You know, cubicles do exist still. So on the 3 walls of his cubicle, he has postcards of everywhere you can think of. So guess what's really important to him? Travel. You know, so sometimes it might be about asking a question. Sometimes it's observing, just observing what people are doing and the sorts of things that they have close to them. What they talk about all the time will give you a really great example of what's important to them. You know, if you get into a conversation with somebody and you see their eyes light up as they talk about a certain topic, like you were talking about Gandhi, you know, and you were kind of really animated, and those are things to pick up on and notice, you know, because those are things that are truly authentic, they're truly inspirational for the person, and then link it to the vision, the mission, objectives, goals, whatever it may be that you're looking for them to work on as part of their role.
Alan's added to that, saying that yeah, I think the probing is essential, reframing helps, but they also need to be honest with themselves and understand the importance of why it's important to have purpose. Because yeah, that's the thing. If we're just going through life with it happening to us and allowing everyone else to make those decisions for us, well, yeah, we're never going to get to positive leadership, are we? We need our leaders to be role models and to share that. And I think this is a lovely opportunity for that authenticity, for people to open up and to share, and especially if they're working remotely, because you don't know what their environment is like necessarily. So to have that conversation, if people would be really honest, I think would be great. And maybe you could do one question per day and explore it over well, you say you've got 13, so you've got 2-3 weeks there. You can go through. You won't necessarily do them all in one go. But yeah, what a great way to have those discussions and find out so much about individuals. So adding this to appraisals, because we usually ask what gives you the most satisfaction in your job, what gives you the least. But I like the way this is phrased.
Yeah, and I think, you know, especially today, we talk about concepts like authentic leadership, compassionate leadership, and all these things. And we've got to get real at some point and ground it in something that's real and actionable, you know. So this really helps make it actionable and make it very authentic. You know, it's based on real actions that people are taking within their lives all the time. And I just want to add one thing, if I may, to the mix, which is, you know, because because we're in this situation where people are feeling a little bit flat at this time of the year, you know, and it's grey outside. One of the important things as a leadership is, as a leader, is really to be thinking about everything as feedback. Everything is feedback. So whether somebody makes a mistake, or whether somebody is seen to fail, or something fails, or even if somebody succeeds at something, it's all feedback. It's all feedback. You know, it's a moment in time where it may look like we failed at something, we haven't reached a target, whatever it may be, but we don't know what the future holds, you know, and it may well be that they hit that target a little bit later than intended. It may be that they've had success now and things drop off, you know, in the future. But all of it is feedback, a moment in time. And I think if we took that on board as leaders, and we didn't do the, oh, you know, that's dreadful, you failed, or you made a mistake, but took as you see it, as feedback, and think about it in terms of, okay, well, so what can we learn from this? Whether it's seen as a success or it's seen as a failure, doesn't matter. We can learn from our successes, we can learn from our failures in the moment. So what is it that we learn from this moving forward? So just be mindful that everything is feedback, you know, whether you initially think it's failure or success, it's just feedback.
It reminds me of a quote that I used last week. Well, one, feedback is a gift. We use that all the time, don't we? So, like you say, whether it's positive or negative. But it was a long quote that Rebecca sent us, and it really related to what we were doing. And one of the sentences within it, this is from Karen Ray, was, how is this the best thing that could have happened in this moment? So you're getting your mind to work around, well, what are we learning from this? Or how actually can we see that as a positive? So you expand in your mind rather than contracting. When things go wrong or you're in a tough time, a lot of people go and shrink and it's all negative. When actually, if we can open up and expand our mind and say, well, how is this the best thing that could have happened in this moment? And even when it's certainly in the recruitment, people don't turn up for work, but they ring you beforehand, or they're not going for an interview and they let you know. You're like, but the fact that they've called you is the best thing that could have happened. There's a relationship there. There's something that meant that they were willing to have a potentially difficult conversation, because no one likes conflict, to let you know what was happening so you're ahead of it before the client finds out. It's things like that that we need to really explore. So maybe that's another one we can add into the mix when something happens, and whether it's good or bad, but certainly when it's tough. How is this the best thing that could have happened in this moment? Let's get that one in there.
Yeah, and I've got another quote for you, which is, you can't course correct standing still. You can't course correct standing still. Yeah. So if you're in that moment where you're hesitating to take action, just remember, you can't course correct standing still. You've got to take action and learn from that as you go along. And maybe ask that question too, Angela, that you mentioned. Yeah.
So where did that come from, or is that one of yours?
It's not one of mine. I read it somewhere and I just thought, that's absolutely brilliant. I tend to be a big action taker, but I find that it really helps people when you remind them that you can't course correct standing still. You have to do something in order to get the feedback and learn the lessons, and then kind of make adjustments as you go along. So if any of you are listening to this and are hesitating to take action, just remember, you can't course correct standing still.
That's brilliant. It reminds me of our first ever daily workout. We're in the 900s now. We're heading up to the 1,000, but our first ever one, first day of lockdown, and of course we were all course correcting and trying to sort things out, but it was based around CIA, which is, what can I control, what can I influence, and if I can't control it, if I can't influence it, what action can I take? So therefore I then decide how this is going to impact me and affect me. So again, as a leader, being able to take that moment, and it's a bit like the the quote, isn't it? God give me the serenity to accept what I can't change and have the courage to change things that I can. But yeah, what CIA? What can I control? What can I influence? What can I action? What can I do from this? So certainly we've gained some great conversation there. I now want to know what the other 9 are, Nicky. So we're probably going to get you back to do those. We've got your link in there as well. So what else would you like to add in the last couple of minutes?
You know, I think that one of the things that I'm finding within large organisations at the moment is this sense that they really want to hold on to their talents. They recognise that one of the biggest challenges they have is holding on to their talent, and it really comes back to that authentic and leadership and having empathy for people. And my guess is recruitment companies, you know, it's no different. It doesn't matter whether you're a recruitment company, an investment bank, a telecoms company, it's the same issue. And it really goes back to just remembering to use your word, Angela, bless you, around connectedness, connecting with your people, you know, and really understanding who they are and what their high priority values are. If you can really connect with your people in an authentic way that fits with their high priority values, really get to understand them and what's important to them and communicate from that place, you're going to have a lot more success as a leader within the workplace, and you're going to hold on to your talent. There's only so much that we can do with money in organizations. You know, once we've taken care of the salary issue, once we've taken care of, you know, the benefits, you know, the hours, whether they're working from home so many days a week, and when they're in the office, whatever that looks like, once you've taken care of those things, it really comes down to how connected we are with each other, that relationship, and how we're communicating with each other. So these high priority values are a key piece of that, key piece of understanding your people. Yeah.
Definitely advocate that. I was with the same recruitment company for 13 years, and it was because my values weren't being met that I left. It wasn't about money. And we've just had to talk this morning around Gen Zs, and it's only going to be a few years and they're going to be the biggest workforce or group in the workforce. And a lot of it is not about money for them at all. So it's going to get less and less on that side, and more about, yeah, how we fit in people's values, how are we letting them show up to work to be their authentic selves and not to have to adjust and change from home life to work life. We all want that, don't we?
We do. We really do. Yeah. And there's a role for each and every one of us to help organisations really understand that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we've got loads to work with there. I'm going to be using it. We've got our team meeting on Monday evening, our last one of the year. So I'm going to be using it with our team. We did it about a year and a half ago, I think. We haven't done it this year, and I've missed that. So that's why I love these things as well, because it reminds me to be best practice and to do these things. So we'll be picking up on that next week. So Alan, hope you're there, and we will identify what our values are to take us into 2024 and where our focus needs to be. Fantastic. Sarah, thank you for that. I love these questions. Lots of food for thought. Thank you. Yes, I reiterate that. Thank you so much, Nicky. Love speaking to you. Always get great ideas whenever I do. You have a great Christmas if you are.
And you too. Yeah.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
next year. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.